3 years after the main laws of judicial reform were approved by the Assembly, its implementation remains pending, though the majority expects to conclude the establishment of the new institutions next year. At the beginning of August, the Parliament and President will have the list of candidates for the Constitutional Court, as the Justice Appointment Council will review the 14 names on Wednesday. The resignation of Ramush Haradinaj from the post as Prime Minister of Kosovo is expected to lead to federal elections being held on September 8th. It's 6 o'clock on Monday, the 22nd of July 2019. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to RTV Ora's English edition. My name is Alexandra, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. 3 years after the adoption of justice reform by 140 MPs of the Socialist Party, the Democratic Party and the Socialist Movement for Integration, still not all of the new justice bodies have been established. Promoting the parliamentary publication reform of the justice system, Parliamentary Speaker Gramos Rucci said that justice reform is an irreversible process and cause for reflection by all. In the absence of the opposition and given the majority's clashes with the President, Gramos Rucci reminded all parties that there cannot be political compromise in violation of the Constitution. Former Justice Reform leader Fatmir Jafai acknowledged that this process has faced many difficulties, as yesterday's justice, according to him, has been enslaved by politics. The majority believes that finalisation of the judicial reform with the new justice institutions will be completed in 2020. The Special Prosecution Office, National Bureau of Investigation, the High Court and the Constitutional Court are all awaiting the completion of vetting in order to secure their required new members. According to the Democratic Party, 3 years after the justice reform was approved in consensus by the Assembly, the justice system has become a personal tool for the use of the Prime Minister, Edi Rama. The Secretary for Legal Affairs, Trim Jata, said that a perfect example of this is the decision by the Durrës Court to alter a judicial outcome without any lodgement of an appeal. Jata added that, although 3 years have passed since the reform was approved, no senior official has been brought to justice. According to the Democratic Party, only once justice has been liberated from the dictatorship of Edi Rama and his relations to crime will free and fair elections that enable governance in the interests of citizens be able to be guaranteed. Prime Minister Edi Rama at the meeting of the SP National Assembly tomorrow will ask for greater accountability from political leaders and new mayors resulting from June 30. The Socialist Party in local elections managed to win 60 municipalities, but again, within the Socialists, there was also dissatisfaction due to the low voter participation rates. The Socialist leader, after June 30, decided to entrust the electoral districts to himself, Gramos Rucci and Talont Bala. In the autumn, the Socialists will go to the elections to vote for new leaders of the party's structures, where Edi Rama will seek another mandate from the Socialists. Also, during the Assembly, the criteria for the election of Congress delegates is expected to be approved, along with the heads of district branches, heads of Socialist councils of administrative units, and heads of Socialist organisations. Also, Edi Rama will request answerability from Cabinet Ministers as to whether they have fulfilled their duties as set out by the Council of Ministers. We remind that at the last meeting of the Assembly, the Prime Minister gave a deadline to Ministers Closey and Minister Liu to fulfil their duties by July, otherwise their ministries would face changes. It is not yet known whether Rama has decided on any new names for his cabinet, though he denied any planned amendments just a few days ago. August will serve as a month of reflection for Prime Minister Edi Rama and President Ilir Meta regarding the list of candidates for the Constitutional Court. On Wednesday, the Council of Appointments in Justice will review the 14 candidacies and, at the beginning of August, Ardian Dvorani will submit the rankings according to the Justice Appointment Council evaluations to the Parliament and the President. If we, at the beginning of August, redistribute the relevant rankings to the President and the Assembly, they should, within a month, complete their procedures. If they do not express the relevant decisions, the Constitution provides a mechanism to ensure the process is not blocked, said Dvorani. The Justice Appointment Council will also wait for the Appeal Chamber's decision on the candidate for the Constitutional Court, Valbona Bayo. Mehta and Rama will elect 3 members each, while the other 3 members of the Constitutional Court will depend on the establishment of the Supreme Court, which, according to the expectations of the High Council of the Judiciary, begins its fulfilment in September. The Serious Crimes Court has accepted the request of former Interior Minister Saimir Tahiri for a shortened trial. The trial panel has approved this request today, 3 months after the commencement of the case, paving the way for an accelerated process. At the opening of the hearing, prosecutors submitted the translated statements of Nazar Saiti, Moisi Habilai and Meridian Sula to the courts. Subsequently, with the trial panel having the full content of the file, the prosecution was invited to give their final conclusions and proposals for the measures against the former minister, as well as the director of Ora Police. Representatives of the accusation body asked for an additional 2 weeks, causing a reaction from the former minister. When leaving the hearing, he said the prosecution has had the materials ready since the commencement of the trial and that the same material was presented to Parliament when the request was made to remove his immunity. The next session was scheduled for the 10th of September. The former minister will be judged together with the former police director of Vlora, Yael Chela, who was declared wanted more than a year ago. Chela is charged with 3 counts of trafficking narcotic drugs as part of a structured criminal group, as well as committing acts within the framework of a structured group. By accepting a shortened trial, the maximum punishment applicable is reduced by 1/3. Kosovo is expected to hold new parliamentary elections on Sunday, the 8th of September. Sources from the Kosovo presidency reported that, given the vacuum created by the early departure of Prime Minister Ramush Haradinaj, President Hashim Thaçi has the obligation to set a new date for the elections after no more than 45 days. In an interview for Radio Free Europe before issuing a formal resignation to the president, the head of the Kosovo government stated that the people should be given the opportunity to fill the vacancy that has been caused by his departure. We should not delay in giving people their right to decide. It is imperative to hold elections within the next 2 months as the deadline set by law is important. The timeframe is set out by the Constitution, as is the required formation of the Parliament and the future government. It's important that everything happens within the right time, said Haradinaj. 2 days before the interview at the Hague Special Court, the head of the Kosovo government reiterated his concerns about tariffs, fearing that Kosovo's sovereignty might be violated. Kosovo cannot afford, even if it wanted, a price for recognition that further separates Kosovo, alters its borders, or returns it to a Dodik republic or an influential republic from Russia. With this in mind, I expect support and unity, regardless of who, be it we, the Democratic League of Kosovo, the Vetvendosia movement, or the Social Democratic Party of Kosovo, are competing against each other for power, declared Haradinaj. Earlier today, Kosovo's top officials commemorated the 9th anniversary of the decision by the International Court of Justice, which confirmed the independence of Kosovo announced in February of 2008. "367 subjects were found to be in violation of taxation laws within the first 20 days of July. The informality operation, supervised by the Tax Administration Directorate, continued throughout bars and restaurants, which were penalised for unregistered employees and failing to issue tax receipts. In the first press release, Director Delina Ibrahimaj said that no business in violation of the law will be tolerated. No entrepreneur can be enriched by violating laws at the expense of others. There will be no bars or hotels that operate on the market without NIPs. There can be no business reporting artificially deflated incomes. This contradicts the principles of equality in the market and our actions at the expense of citizens who rightly ask for deserved public services because they pay VAT on every purchase they make, but cannot receive them for they lose their money to the pockets of businessmen who do not give accurate declarations. There is no tolerance in this war. They are all equal before the law, declared Ibrahimaj. By the end of the year, 6,200 entities will be audited from high-risk sectors such as tourism, construction and fuel. But the action against informality will include any subject that damages fair competition in the market. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of RTV Ora, thank you and good night.